work out a denial so that it doesn't in their mind. Because they've built this house of cards that is not self-sustainable. And that isn't to say every religious thing is built on a great truth.
Sure.
Or a collection of great truths. But then they put it into stone, and it's no longer alive. And we get into rituals, and rituals can be useful, but what is a ritual for?
To me, a ritual is to kind of sustain something, or to keep something going, or to get that imprint in people, in a way.
There you go. If you were in a society whose basis had collapsed into the ocean, and you can see that, well, as the technology unravels and the knowledge base goes away, that we're going to have to, for the benefit of mankind, hold within them certain basic principles, like avoid food with worms, wash your hands, things of this sort, over the long haul. What's the best way? Well, it's to build it into a religious ritual.
That's right.
That is passed on. And then, unfortunately, many generations down the line, we forget or lost the reasons behind the ritual. Just like when a clergyman puts his hands up in the air over the congregation to bless them. How many of them are aware that the palms of the hands are the emitter of personal energy? And that motion is one of broadcasting and sending love to these people.
Interesting.
You can just imagine the light shining out of their hands. That's what it's for. And if you don't have that intent behind it, then it's an empty ritual.
Exactly. Actually, that gesture, I'm not sure. I think I heard that actually goes back to an old Egyptian gesture, but I'm not sure.
Hey, they all do.
They all do. That's right. Oh, that's right.
Because the Atlanteans landed and founded the society that was Egypt. That last cataclysm.
Yeah, a lot of things seems to spring from that area, or at least the people that settled in that area.
Oh, absolutely, and it's fascinating. Our written history goes back, 3,000 years? So we're 4,000 years old? Well, those who believe that, I know there's a bridge available to lease they can get rich from.
There is, exactly. There are a few things coming to light here and there. I mean, murals and basic form of writing is dug up here and there. That seems to point, as you say, 3,000-4,000 years ago. So you're probably right.
There are dozens of books that delineate that from all kinds of different aspects.
That's right.
Charles Berlitz wrote a book that did all that from language, just the linguistics. Was absolutely fascinating. And then there's a whole stream of other books out there, some from a geological standpoint, some from an archaeological standpoint. To me, that there is absolutely no question that we have not had some sort of great cataclysm in the past. The only argument is discussing what caused it and which one.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. For instance, just look at Michael Cremo's work on forbidden archaeology. There's some pretty interesting stuff in there,
It's fascinating.
Millions of years old, artifacts and things like that. So, it seems to be that we've been kind of going here for quite some time, if indeed it was a human race as we know it today that were around at that time, and that's pretty uncertain too, I guess, at this point.
What would preclude a creator from tinkering with his creation from time to time?
Well, exactly. I mean, we did have the Neanderthal kind of Cro-Magnon type human being that was around, and for some reason they got phased out and a new model was put in. That's the way I see it, at least.
And then let's see, we have billions and billions of planets out there that could host life forms. So in our great arrogance and low self-esteem, we would claim that we were the only creation in the universe capable of thought, the opposed thumb. That's pretty arrogant.
Yep, very, very much so. Some people have actually suggested that we are on this planet on some kind of almost quarantine, or we're put here for actually developed spiritually before we can be let out into the universe with our, current level of madness, basically.
I have seen several sources that alluded to that or directly made statements of that sort, and boy, talk about a ring of truth. I wouldn't unleash this negative stuff on anything out in the universe.
Yeah. And
so all these efforts about, getting to the moon and getting to Mars, and, well, it's physically ludicrous to start with. But spiritually, we are not allowed to do that. So why are we wasting all our energy to make certain government entities richer?
Do you think we've never been to the moon?
I don't know. I watched the television broadcast back in when the first man stepped on the moon. My impression is that we did make it. We found some things that the media and the powers that be didn't want to be acknowledged, and that's why we haven't really been back since.
So but the moon, I guess, is, I'm not sure if this is correct or not, but I guess the moon is within the quote quarantine field, unquote, the Van Allen belt. I guess the moon is within that. Do you know if that's true?
I'm not really cognizant of the exact delineation of that quarantine belt, but I suspect that we are pushing our luck just sending probes out beyond the moon.
And things are kind of heating up on that front too. I mean, the Russians, the Chinese, the U.S. is going back. There's a lot of things going on there, so we'll just have to see what happens on that front,
Yeah, I've seen a lot of stories about the whys and wherefores on that, and I'm not sure I trust any of them. Just label me as a skeptic.
Okay. Well, it's interesting to watch it, but again, to kind of connect this with 2012 and then changing times and all of this, there seems to be a lot of people to kind of also that are just sitting around and kind of waiting for this date to switch, because when that happens, after that point, everything is going to be okay, right?
I think they're going to be really, if they get that far, it's going to be really strange. I don't expect that day switch for anybody to feel anything different. It's more of the continuing change rather than, oops, there it was, bye.
Yeah.
So we consider that aspect of it, and we see more and more people who actually fight these things becoming mentally imbalanced, doing strange and bizarre things. I think we're going to see more of that kind of thing. Fight them, you break.
Yeah.
Because they are not changes that we can modify.
Yeah, exactly. It seems to be a lot of people sitting around and waiting, and also the idea of that someone else or external is, an alien or whatever.
Come save us? Going to come save us?
Yeah, exactly, they're going to come save us, It's a ludicrous idea, but...
It's a do-it-yourself job.
Well, exactly, and I guess that a do-it-yourself job actually... it takes a lot of work, but that doesn't mean that it's complicated in any way, right?
The beauty of it is simple. But simple is not always easy.
Yeah.
But the first step is to set the intent. And you got to recognize that there's a need, which is what this is all about. And that's why I wrote the quest. In fact, it's basically it's a story form, but it's a book on how to do this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about it before we round things up here.
Well, it gives some background as to the whys, the wherefores, and I put it in a story format, some characters talking with each other and doing things to make it a little bit more fun. But it incorporates all kinds of interesting and useful exercises, ranging from what I described earlier with the simple hand exercise to group exercises. You can use that to better enhance your energies and expand your inner awareness. So there's all kinds of tools in there. It's the kind of thing that I read it 7 times and proofing it, and each time I got more out of it.
That's good.
So it's one of those interesting kind of books like that. And I put some things in some forms, but I think we can probably sum it up very nicely from the poem that comes from the title, The Quest.
Mm-hmm.
Led by the hounds of heaven and chased by the hounds of hell, the light is ever before us, yet the darkness never far behind. Progress is elusive, no time to rest. Definitions keep changing. What did we learn today we didn't already know? Where is this road going so fast? Torn between running away from fear and running into the unknown. Uncertainties of the unknown trigger more fear. We are afraid to face the fear behind us, for fear of the light going ahead without us. The pace becomes more frantic, no more time to rest. We must reach that ever-receding goal or fail. Will we be devoured by the hounds of hell if we fail? They always seem so close. What if they are only shadows of playful puppies, parts of self pushed away from the light, just trying to come back home? What if the light is within, and all we have to do is accept and allow it to flow?
That's nice. That's very nice, very good, absolutely. So that's from a poem that is in your book, The Quest?
Yes.
Interesting. You know, and I encourage people to head on over to your website, that is sruck.com. No, sorry, I'm having that all wrong here.
Ruback. My last name is Ruback, R-U-B-A-C-K, like, are you back? And
there you go.
That's S for Stephen. Try to make it simple, and people always get it confused.
Always, huh? Ah, darn.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Okay.
Now, that website, I also happen to be a real estate inspector, so it shares several interests. And has the dynamic publishing page where it has the information on the Quest. They can actually download and read about the first half of it. It's also available at Amazon.com, though I don't know if they have any in stock right now, but they can get it. It's also available directly. Information's on the website. Somebody wants to. I'm not set up for credit cards, but Amazon.com is. So that's one option. But there's a little description there on the symbology on the cover, which is one of those things. They say all this came in backwards in times of order, and probably should have had it in the book. But we have on the cover, first of all, it's bright green, which is a healing color. So if you want to help somebody heal, imagine them surrounded in a bright green light, unless you're dealing with a tumor, because it's a color growth, so don't do that.
Okay.
Title is in bright pink, which is the color of love. And we have an outline of two people in the front who are ostensibly puckering for a kiss. And we have the outline in their heads, emblematic of my father's description of the ideal relationship, where the rocks in his head match the holes in her head.
Right.
And then we see behind these faces the shadows of how these people are really approaching each other, sticking their tongues out at each other. Typical of many, many relationships that are not based on the levels of communication they really need.
Interesting. Yes, there's a whole symbolic language behind the even the front cover there. Very interesting. Nice.
Absolutely.
By the way, you mentioned colors. That's an interesting thing we could round up things on. Have you studied colors for long and what they mean and do?
Yes, and there's a really neat exercise that you can do. Green is a healing color, bright lime green especially. Blue is a very calming and relaxing color, so it's no accident that we are surrounded in nature by green and a blue sky.
Yeah.
Yellow is, particularly toward the gold, is the color of wisdom, which is separate from knowledge. Probably knowledge is a little bit more on the yellow side. And let's see, I left one out there. Green, healing, red, energy.
Red, yeah.
So if you want to stir somebody up, you just imagine them surrounded in red light. Just don't do that with somebody that you want to calm down.
Well, it's